and then press F5, and it will break the program when we reach that line. And you see the bullet velocity is currently set to 0, 0. If we step into by clicking the step into button, or go to debug, step into, or if we press F11, it'll go to the next line of code and it will set bullet velocity. So now we can see that our bullet velocity is 8,36. But all we did was subtract these two velocities, or these two positions. So 10 minus 2 is 8, 80 minus 4 is 76. So if we run our game with the bullet velocity we have now, the bullet will appear at the enemy, and the next game loop it'll be on our player. We do not want that to happen. We want it to smoothly travel between enemy to player. So what do we do to do that? We have to do another vector operation, which is bullet velocity dot normalize, and that will make the norm, or the vector length, equal to 1. I'll break to the base dot initialize, so we already normalize it. So now if we look at our bullet velocity, we see it is now 0.10468 on and on, comma 0.9945 and on. So that way it will smoothly travel between enemy to player in a few seconds rather than instantaneously. So that is how you see these enemies firing towards the player position. And I believe that's the only enemy I had fire at me throughout the whole thing. So that's how you do that. And throughout these series and complete games tutorials, we'll go more in depth on the vectors. But for now, just think of a vector as a placeholder for position, velocity, acceleration, origin, or anything else that can be broken down into an X position and a Y position. And I showed you how to calculate a velocity between two other velocities. Remember, the greater one has to come first, or you'll end up with a negative velocity, which will confuse the whole thing. That's if you want it to. You can have it do a negative velocity if you want, and it'll make the game more interesting that way. And whenever you do that, you need to normalize, unless you really want the object that you just calculated the difference to travel instantaneously. So normalize is what smooths the animation to a few seconds instead of instantaneous travel between the two vectors. And that's it for this tutorial. Next tutorial we'll go into more interesting stuff. We will extend our sprites tutorial and use vector to hold our position, and we'll actually do animations on the sprites. And finally, we will unload the sprite in the unload method. So, I hope to see you next time.